Cristiano Ronaldo, vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo, mete, bateu, golo.
Balotelli, Aguero!
Posse de bola para Portugal, vai Éder, chuta!
Hello everyone, here we are again for another episode of Panenka's Europe, or in Portuguese, Europa Panenka. And here I am today with someone you should already know from the last two times we've spoken to him, Nima Tavallaey from Sempre Inter. Hello Nima, how are you?
I'm good, João. How are you? Good to be with you guys again.
Thank you. He's almost like a host in our project already. You are.
No, I've really enjoyed every time I've been on with you guys. I really have a good time. I really enjoy it. You guys are doing a great job. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you. I'm here to thank you for being here again and for the other times as well.
My pleasure.
So let's start. I'm not going to ask you to introduce again because you have already do it twice, I think. But let's go a little bit to the past, just to quickly talk about that elimination of Benfica last season. What do you remember of the game? What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, from what I remember, and it wasn't that long ago, but what I remember was that the first game was the most important one. I thought Benfica were at home. I mean, Estadio da Luz, it's one of the most trickiest venues you can go to. And Benfica were good, were very good. They were as good as I expected them. And Inter had to be very, very concentrated, very focused, so as to get away with a 2-0 win in that game. I thought, of course, there was a bit of luck as well. Denzel Dumfries made some incredible challenges as well, which is really funny that it's him of all people. But no, I think, overall, for me, that's what decided it. The tie was decided in Lisbon when Inter wins. I mean, Bastoni to Barella, fantastic goal. The penalty was fairly clear. So no, it's I thought Benfica were. I mean, Inter won that tie then and there, and I was a bit surprised by that. I think that's when Inter really changed for me in the way that they approached, because I felt that if you can go to Benfica away in the quarterfinal and you win the tie there, because then when they came back to San Siro, it felt like a formality. It didn't feel like Benfica really believed in it. Benfica, if I remember, were 10 points clear of Porto. But then after that, they kind of collapsed a little bit, and there was also a title race again on their hands, so they had to focus on that. So, to me, that's when Inter won. The tie was the first tie, and it was a very, very good game. It was. I mean, the second game just felt a little bit like Inter. It just Inter scored, and then towards the end they stopped playing, and Benfica scored a couple of goals, and it was just like a little bit exhibition game. But for me, the first tie was very interesting, and I thought Benfica were a very, very tricky side. But I think Benfica have improved since that tie. I think you've had a fantastic transfer window, which I'm sure you're going to get into.
Yes. Yes, you have resumed the game very well, the two games very well. Yes, we were in a very tricky moment that time, because I remember they were 4 defeats on the road. It was against Porto first, then Inter, then Chaves in our championship, and then Inter was not a defeat, but was a draw the second game. So yes, it was a very tricky moment, but then we recovered. I think we were physically wise, very, very, very bad. The team was falling down, but in the end we could recover and win the title of our championship. But talking about the present, that is what matters anyway. What do you think is the style of playing of Inter this season? Do you think it has changed a lot since the last season? What do you think?
Yes, I think it has changed. It's a much more direct team. It's a team that is a little bit deeper in their balance. It's a team that's much more direct. It's not as patient build up as when they had Marcelo Brozovic. Obviously, he didn't play that much against Benfica, if I remember correctly. He was
Yes.
injured, in the first time. So we had Çalhanoğlu, but so it's very similar to that approach that you experienced. But the difference, of course, being that Marcus Thuram is there, Edin Dzeko, Romelu Lukaku aren't. Lautaro has never been better. Nicola Barella's out of form. If we're talking just like those kind of players are out of form, Bastoni and Barella aren't really in form. And Inter have had some, are having some problems with injuries. Fratezi's gone. He's going to miss the game. Cuadrado might be back. Sensi's not out. Arnautovic is out. So they do have some injury issues. Inter, 4 or 5 players gone. Rotation players, which means that the team, Inzaghi can't rotate as much as he wants to. He did to a certain extent against Salernitana, but obviously, it was goalless at half time, even though Inter dominated and brought Lautaro. Lautaro scores 4 goals in 27 minutes. Game's won. So no, it's an Inter that is it's an Inter that is a year more mature with Simone Inzaghi. It's an Inter that is tactically much more direct, deeper, can play more counter-attacking, because last season they were much more of a possession-based team than they are now. I'm concerned about this game. I think Benfica are really tricky. I think Benfica have improved in the summer. I think that you've started the season well. You just beat Porto, which is always going to be a boost for Benfica. So I think Inter need to be careful because this could easily go really south. And they've brought in some, the signings that they've made, Cabral, Di Maria, Guedes. These are players that have experience and that can hurt Inter.
Mm-hmm.
And although Inter have only conceded 4 goals in 8 matches, it's still an Inter who I feel that has holes defensively. I don't think Inter are there yet as a unit. But I do expect, Inter to field their best 11. I expect Thuram and Lautaro to start. I expect Bastoni to be back. I expect De Vrij maybe to start as well. And of course, Pavard, I think, will start as well. And I think Darmian will start as well. To the right, I think Inter have respect for Di Maria, and I think they have respect for Benfica's midfield and their winger and their wide players. So I think it's going to be a tight game. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends in another draw. To be honest, I don't think this is going to be as open a game as the last meeting at the San Siro was. And of course, Inter drew against Sociedad. Were lucky to draw against Sociedad away. They were really poor in that game. But they need to be on their toes. Benfica can cause you trouble, and this is an improved Benfica compared to last season, if you ask me.
Okay. So you are very good this season. I think you have just that draw against Real Sociedad.
No, we lost against.
We have another defeat. Yes.
Yeah, it was Sassuolo, a game where Inter dominated the first half and were very arrogant in the second half and completely just gifted away the 3 points against the Sassuolo, who a couple of days earlier had easily beaten Juventus 4-2. So Inter were very arrogant. But again, Inter were outstanding in the derby against Milan. But
yes, 5-1.
Yeah, they were outstanding in that game. But to be honest, since that game, Inter have not been very good. The Salernitana game was just, yes, they started to look good the more the game went on. But that was also more down to Lautaro Martinez stepping up, being the captain that Inter needs him to be, which kind of conditioned that game. Although Inter dominated most of that game, it wasn't the kind of Inter we saw against Fiorentina or Monza or Milan. It's been they looked a little bit tired at times. So look, I think Benfica will come to this game wanting revenge. Nothing would be nicer for them to beat Inter at the San Siro to make up for last season. I don't think Inter will go into this game thinking they've won it. I think they're going to be very concentrated. I think the fact that he's rotated quite a bit against Salernitana will do them a world of good. He has to start his best players against Benfica. Benfica are such a good side, they warrant that. So I expect Di Marco to start. I expect Mkhitaryan, Barella, Çalhanoğlu, thuram, Lautaro. The strongest 11 that Inter have to field them against Benfica. And they have to be switched on for 90 minutes. Benfica will hurt you. Di Maria would love nothing more than to score against Inter at the San Siro. Cabral with his history of Fiorentina, Guedes. I mean, these are good players. So yeah, Inter have to be switched on.
Yes, it's interesting. It's the second time you talk about Cabral, and he's not very consensual between the Benfica fans. He hasn't scored one goal even. So we are
Well,
not
then definitely score against Inter. Then we've just established that he's absolutely going to score at the San Siro against Inter. That is like the ultimate Inter curse. If a striker has never scored in that season, he plays Inter and has the game of his life. So we've established that Cabral is going to score. Then great.
It will be good. It kind of remembers me the last time we've spoken, that you talk about Dumfries. You said he wasn't very good, and he did two very good matches against
He was
Benfica.
unbelievable against Benfica. Like the
Yeah.
thing with Denzel Dumfries is this season he started really well. The problem with Denzel Dumfries is that he's a very limited player technically, very limited. He can't dribble, he can't beat his man. His crosses are so and so, but he does when he has incredible mental strength. I'd say that the only aspect of Denzel Dumfries' game that is world class is his mental strength.
Okay.
He is incredibly mentally strong, and he is a leader. I mean, let's remember he has that kind of leadership. He has leadership qualities. He was the captain of PSV Eindhoven. I mean, anyone doesn't just become captain. So that's the thing, that when he does stupid things, when he does make simple individual errors, fans at the San Siro start moaning and groaning and booing and jeering. It doesn't affect him. Instead, he takes that as like working harder and tries to improve, and that's incredibly impressive, to be honest with him. That's the aspect of his game that I think it's the only aspect of his game that is world class, is his mental strength. Defensively, his positional game, I mean, the guy, it's so bad at times. When his positioning and his read of the game, where to stand, is just, you just want to, you just wonder, how is this a professional footballer in terms of technical ability as well? He steps on the ball like, when you see children play football, like it's those kinds of errors. But he is a team player. He's mentally very strong. He's had a very good start to the season. And he's decent in the air as well. So, he will see if he starts. I think he'll be rested against. Or actually, yeah, I think he'll be rested against Benfica. I think we're going to see Pavard and Darmian play.
Okay. So you have already talked about some of the most important players this season. For example, Lautaro. But who are the players that are also doing a positive start?
Stefan de Vrij has been very good to the start of the season. He's been very impressive. He's having this kind of, so far he doesn't make many mistakes. He's looking like the de Vrij of old when he became the best defender in the Serie A. Very comfortable on the ball, very important in the build-up. Acerbi's been doing well as well. Di Marco, even when he plays bad, he scores a goal or gets an assist, because he has one of the best left feet in the world for set pieces and crosses and corners and all that.
Yes.
But Hakan Çalhanoğlu and Barella above all, Nicolo Barella has not had a good start to this season. He looks a bit tired. He looks out of rhythm, and he's struggled. He has struggled. So no, I mean, it's been an Inter. Carlos Agosto has been very good as well. The left wing back they bought from Monza, they replaced Robin Gosens with him. I think he's been very, very good. He's been a real breath of fresh air, and he offers something differently. We haven't really seen Juan Cuadrado because he's been injured. Davide Fratesi, has been good despite not having played that much, and he's also had some physical problems. So it's an Inter with lots of players who've done well, but I mean the most impressive has to be Marcus Thuram. What a signing he's proven to be. I mean, I wanted him 2 years ago when he injured himself. He was going to Inter. He injured himself on the last weekend, and Inter had to buy Joaquin Correa. He's even superseded my expectations. I didn't, I knew I was expecting him to do this good, or I was expecting him to be this kind of player, the type of player he is, but I wasn't expecting him to be have this much of an impact this early on. It's really, really impressed me. And his work, his link up with Lautaro is just like clockwork. It looks so good.
Okay, and do you miss Milan Skriniar in your defense, or you think you are stable?
Look, Milan Skriniar are in the middle of that. I mean, if we're talking like that, if you had Alessandro Bastoni, Milan Skriniar, and Benjamin Pavard, that's a dream. That would be one of the best defenses in the world, if not the best defense in the world. But Milan Skriniar, but Benjamin Pavard suits this system better than Milan Skriniar ever did as the right centre back. It's like mirroring a more experienced Alessandro Bastoni on the right. So the defense is looking really good. Jan Sommer, since he joined, he had a little bit of a shaky start, but then he's been really good. And then he made a howler against Sassuolo for the equalizer. So we're kind of a little bit, yes, he's been good, but we're not quite convinced yet of where we are with Jan Sommer. He's made some really impressive saves, and he's working himself into it. And his percentage rate looks good for a goalkeeper, but there's still this kind of, we need to wait and see so that he can really get into this and work well with the defenders. It was always going to take some time for Sommer to get into things. And of course, you don't have Skriniar there, you got Pavard there. It takes some time for them to work some kinks out. But he's made that game against Sassuolo was just, he made a good save in that. But the equalizer was a howler. He should never have conceded that goal.
Okay. It kind of remembers me of our new goalkeeper, Anatoly Trubin, who had also a shaky start against RB Salzburg in the first game. But now, especially in the last game against Porto, we did a very solid performance. He defended a penalty in the previous game. So I think he's improving a lot. So I think we are better, to be honest, in our goalkeeper position than before.
I agree with that. Trubin was linked to Inter as well, and I was genuinely annoyed when he went to Benfica because I really wanted him. I think Sommer was obviously the cheaper option, but Trubin was, that is a fantastic player. I know that you signed him for 10 million and, half, it's a 50% sell-on clause, which essentially means it's a co-ownership. But he's a fantastic goalkeeper. He's also very young. The thing is, like with goalkeepers, when they come to a new club, you need to give them some time to adapt, right?
Definitely.
And with young goalkeepers, for sure. But Trubin is, he's the next. I think you're gonna sell him for a ridiculous amount of money in 1 or 2 years.
Yes, it would be good. And moving to Benfica, I don't know if you have seen the last game against Salzburg, the one that we lost 2-0. Have you seen it? What did you think? I think we were one man down, but still you were much better than Salzburg.
Look, I think you play well. Look, under Roger Schmidt, Benfica have a clear identity. They're a ball-playing side. They're a progressive attacking side. They want to have the ball. They want to play in the opposition's half, and they want to, they don't use quote unquote negative tactics in that sense. And you can say that's a little bit naive or whatever, but that's how Benfica play under him. That's Benfica's identity. And to be honest, you've won. You won the league. You've won trophies under it. You were very, very good for most of last season. Domestically, Benfica were outstanding. You came to a quarterfinal of the Champions League. That's good. That's objectively really good for Benfica. So you can't criticize too much. But In my opinion, I think you have to have a little bit of what Italians say cynicism in football as well. You have to be able to grind out results, and that's what Simone Inzaghi does in knockout games and cup games. Maybe you're lacking a little bit there, but I mean, at the same time, Benfica can hurt anyone. Benfica can go to any ground in the world and they can score and win against anyone. So, at the end of the day, it's about taking your chances and the usual stuff that we say.
Yes, we have what Roger Schmidt calls gegenpressing, that is pressing very high.
Yeah.
But I think this season, we haven't been able to adjust that pressure very, very well as we did last season. For example, against Porto, when we were 11 against 11, I saw that Porto sometimes could break our pressure and had space. And I think Inter did the same thing last season, especially with Onana throwing the ball to the midfield, and Dzeko was winning everything, and then Barella, Mkhitaryan got the second ball. I think that's how Inter won the first game, and I'm a little bit afraid that we make the same mistake this time. But yes.
Yeah. No, go.
But apart from this, I think we are a very good team. It's just the only thing I think it's lacking right now. But what do you think are the most important players in Benfica? And if you want to talk about the market, you have done it with Di Maria, Cabral, for example. But what do you think are the most important players?
Well, I mean, I think Trubin is going to be important, isn't he? If he plays, but I assume he's going to play. No.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
So he's going to have a good game. Di Maria now in the point of his career, he's a leader. He's returned to Benfica to lead. He's not, someone that is come to Benfica to be good in a few years. He's at the end of his career. He started at Benfica. He wants to win trophies and do well again at Benfica. So he's going to be incredibly important. And I think Cabral as well, when he comes on or if he starts, I think it's going to be really important for him to see if you guys can control it. And of course, I'm sorry, but Otamendi, I see him as a weak point. I see him as a weakest link. And I said it before when I was ahead of that game against Inter in the quarterfinal, and I think I was proven right. I've never really rated him in his career. I think he always has a mistake in him waiting to happen. And I know that he's been done really well for Benfica in Portugal. But I just remember him at the highest level. He can't cut it. He just can't cut it. I do think that, Benfica are a cohesive team. You have dangerous players who can score a lot. And I think Cabral will end up doing well for you guys. I really think so. I think so, not just this game, but just generally. I think he'll need a little bit of time to get into it. And I think after that, I think he'll just score lots and lots of goals.
Okay. It's interesting because for us, Otamendi is very good. He's our, I won't say our topest defender, but he's a leader. I don't remember a mistake of him in the last few games. But it's interesting, different opinions, of course.
How has Orkan Kokcu done? Has he been good for you guys?
Yes, Orkun. He's doing well. Maybe not that good as I expected, but he's being on a crescendo situation. He's been improving game to game, and I already can see some of the things I would expect from him. Still not exactly his top level, but improving definitely. But just saying about the central defenders, Antonio Silva isn't not going to play because he was expelled last game. But I would pay attention to the defender who is going to substitute him, Morato. He's a good defender, but I think sometimes he risks too much in the transition process from defending to attacking. He sometimes passes the ball and loses the ball. So I think he's going to be the biggest problem of Benfica in this game. I don't know if you know him.
No, I don't know him too much. I don't know him at all, frankly, if I'm honest. So no, but it's interesting you say that, because I think if Otamendi is who you're leaning on, um, I worry for Benfica, because I've always, throughout his career, I think he always makes silly mistakes in the most important games. He always makes silly mistakes at the highest level. I think for Argentina, he has Cuti Romero, who defends for 5 people. I mean, he's unbelievable, Cuti Romero. But I mean, look, again, he's not, now at Benfica, I think he's probably, well, I mean, Portugal is where he's played his best football generally, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's a league he knows really well, and he's done really, really well. I mean, he's the captain of Benfica. He's a leader there. So, and he also allows you to play and press higher up the pitch. I don't wonder if you're going to press that high up, because I think you might not. I mean, on the one hand, Inter don't have Onana anymore, so you can press Inter. It's difficult to press an Inter with Onana, who's so good with the ball at his feet that he might as well be a midfielder.
Yes.
But without Onana, Sommer is decent, but he's no Onana, and I think that suggests to me that Benfica could actually pressure Inter high up the pitch, and also, of course, try to get, if Acerbi starts, well, then Cabral needs to, or whoever starts, Musa or whoever starts, needs to drag him out of position, like Sassuolo did. I think Sassuolo basically laid the blueprint a little bit for how to beat Inter. But I mean, if Benfica don't do that and just press high up, and Inter are able to beat the press, I think it's going to be a very difficult night for Benfica, because Inter are excellent at doing just that. Like you said, they're even better at it this season. I'd say some of the reasons why Inter were able to beat Milan as convincingly as they did was exactly that. They were able to beat Milan's press and then play past it, and then they was basically just 4 against 2.
Yes. And just to finish, what do you think is going to be the end result and the group? Who do you think
The group.
last so early in
I think Sociedad, and I mean I don't really rate Salzburg chances. I think they're finishing dead last. I think Inter, the way I look at it is, I think Inter have to win that group. I mean, they're the Champions League finalists. They have strengthened really well. They have to have that open target. We have to win the group, because of where they are last season and this season. But I don't think it's going to be. A lot of people think that's an easy group, but it's not, because Benfica and Sociedad are very tough sides. I think this could, Inter need to win against Benfica, and Benfica absolutely have to win against Inter, or get at least a point away against Inter, because obviously losing the first game. So I think it's going to be a pretty open game. I wonder though, however, if this doesn't end in a 2-2 draw or something like that, like the last time, a high-scoring draw, because I think Inter have weaknesses defensively, and of course going forward, if Benfica push forward, then Inter are going to have space to attack. And also, I don't think Benfica are that sound. I think Benfica's strengths lay in attack and the way that they attack and impose themselves on the opposition more. But then again, Trubin is a fantastic goalkeeper, and if he has one of those nights where he wants to, prove Inter wrong for not signing him, then which could happen, then I absolutely don't think it's impossible that Benfica win. I think it's a fairly evenly balanced game. I don't think there's that much between these sides. I'd say 55-45 in favor of Inter because they were home team. But other than that, I think it's a very, very evenly balanced game.
Yes. For now, for us, I think we have at least to get 1 point. It's going to be difficult, but since we lost against Salzburg, we made our life so much harder in this group. and we have to get points against Inter. At home, we have to win, I think. Away, we have to try 1 point. Sociedad, we have to try to win them both, the games.
Yeah.
And Salzburg, the last game as well, we have to win absolutely if we want to pass. I'm not even considering the first place right now, it's just to pass.
No, exactly, and I look at it a little bit like that as well. I look at it like, okay, Inter have to win, but they also have to at least finish second, and I think it's going to be tight. But in the end, I think Inter will top the group, and I think who out of Sociedad and Benfica finish second, I couldn't tell you. I think it's so tight. I think whoever win, I think we could have a situation where we go into the last 2 days of this group, 2 match days of this group, and 3 teams, everyone can pass and everyone can win the group. Like the difference between first and third is like won't be that much, it won't be that big, because Sociedad and Benfica are very good, especially at home. Sociedad shown in San Sebastian, they are not easy side to play.
Okay. Thank you, Nima, again for being here.
Always a pleasure to be with you, João.
Now the pleasure is all mine to have you here, and to everyone that will see us. Thank you, and see you next week.
Liverpool 3-0. Corner taken quickly, Origi!
Está jogado Cristiano Ronaldo, vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo, mete, bateu, golo.
Balotelli, Aguero!
Posse de bola para Portugal, vai Éder, chuta!